Good morning once again to everyone in this honorable house. First of all, again, let me give respect to the Spirit of God, which indeed in charge ahead of my life to allow me to be here one more time in the land of the living. And it feels so good to wake up and know that your blood's still running warm in your vein. This week we had a lot of murders, murder upon murders. They wish they was here, but we are here. Amen? Look at y'all going quiet. I don't like when you're quiet. Give me a little amen, man. Yeah, that's it. That's what I love. Come on, Sea Breeze. That's my girl. And then we got the mother. I always call her the mother of Parliament. Somebody say, why you call her? She's the oldest one here. He say, you all teach the young one the way. The mother of Parliament. She know everything. Some of y'all, Johnny come lately, she'll teach you. Yeah, you know what I mean. The long-serving one. Yes, never lose her seat, child. But watch it now. I ain't come for English then. You know me and you go long way. Okay, I come for somebody else seat in the next 4 years. To God be the glory. Praise the Lord. I'm glad to be here. Let me drop a little nugget and then we can pray. Amen. And I want to talk about allow me, Madam Speaker, to muzzle the ox that trend the corn. Allow me, I know this is your host, Paul Savini in Rome. You do like the Romans do. But I ain't in Rome. I'm in the Bahamas. Amen. Somebody in Parliament. And we know that story about Paul. Paul's name was Saul before he became Paul. And Paul used to persecute the church and used to kill all the Christians. But one day he was going to the masters. And what the Holy Ghost do, knocked him down and he blinded him. And Jesus said, Saul, 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 why thou persecuted thou me? He started screaming because he was blind. But Saul became one of the greatest Apostle Paul that ever lived. But what happened to Paul? Paul had to pay the price for killing the Christians and persecuting them. Y'all going quiet, huh? But remember one thing, God blinded him. Don't let God blind you. Somebody, not spiritually, physically. We are only in this place for a season. And when our season is up, we got to go. Just like me, I'm only here for a season. But when our season's up, we got to move on. Remember, let us humble ourselves. The Bible said a humble child will trace the grace of God. When you humble yourself, God will move on your behalf. I told you all last week in this place, when the devil rise up, tell him, say that. The Lord God rebuke you. So when the devil rise up, hold your peace sometime. Let God fight your battle. Amen? And when God fights your battle, then you ain't got nothing to worry, because why? God fights your battle. Men may say whatever they want to say and do whatever. No. Tell them, say what you like, do what you like, but I still got you going my way. We can pray right now, but I can drop in this little nugget. Tell them, if you don't like my apple, baby, don't shake my tree. Say, Bishop, where you come from? Take out your horns and leave the rest. Bow your heads on your chest. Time to pray. Oh, gracious Heavenly Father, the God that changes not, the God that speak to the troublesome wave and said, peace, be still. God, in the name of Jesus, we come before you right now, God. Humbly we pleading before you. With your grace and your mercy, God, we ask you, God, to cover us under your blood right now, God. God, because we realize, God, we cannot do nothing without you, God. Without you, Lord, we be like a ship without a sail, tossed in and driven. God, in the name of Jesus, we pray for every members of Parliament out here. God, you know them by name and by nature, God. I don't, God. Touch them right now, God, from the crown of their head to the sole of their feet. God, move upon this common Bahamas like you never moved before. Oh, God, we ask you, God, to do a supernatural work in the midst of us. God, we declare our old-fashioned revival. We call revival for this land. Heal our land right now. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen and amen. And that was taught us to say, children, thy kingdom come. Give us this day. And lead us not. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, may the peace of God be with you that passes all understanding.
You say? Yes. Good morning, honorable members. When we last met, we were debating the appropriation revenue account. I presume that we are now ready. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Engliston.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I begin, I would wish to extend condolences to the Pinder and Bain families on the loss of their wife, mother, grandmother, and sister a few days ago. When I was appointed a cabinet minister in 2002 at Transport and Aviation, I inherited one Barbara Pinder, an Inaguan young lady, as an assistant who was an employee of that ministry at the time. She subsequently stayed with me and worked closely with me for the ensuing 5 years. Again, in 2012, when I was again appointed to that ministry, I again sought out Barbara, who was then attached to another ministry where she had been transferred. And the rest was history. Yet another 5 years of working together and her proving again to be so invaluable and trustworthy in multidimensional ways as it regards to the demands of that ministry and my constituency. Indeed, after 10 years of working so closely together, and thereafter remaining in contact and becoming friends and learning to meet her family out of Inagua, and they becoming my good friends for over 20 plus years, her loss is deeply personal and painful. She was a knowledgeable and hardworking public servant. She was patriotic and possessed an extremely positive and willing attitude, and she was a kind and supportive friend. May her soul rest in peace. Madam Speaker, I rise to my feet this morning in this honorable house in salute to and on behalf of the people of Engliston, whom I have had the honor and profound privilege to represent for 5 consecutive electoral terms. I am grateful for their sustained support, and I have endeavored to remain faithful to their interests and to the national interests of this, our sovereign nation. I have pledged that in all that I do, that I will never let them down. Though no doubt imperfect my service has been, I have tried my best. And Engliston has remained faithful to the Progressive Liberal Party. In all the storms and trials, they have held strong. The people of that community have continuously and without interruption since 1967 held high the banner and ideals of that great party. Madam Speaker, they have never lost hope, and they have never wavered. This is an amazing and incredible tribute to the succeeding generations of that community, as it discloses a continuing and abiding subscription to the high ideals of nation building and human progress as upheld by that Progressive Liberal Party. And it places on me an enhanced obligation to remain vigilant and most activated and activist in their interests. It is my ardent and immovable position that in this Davis administration, the people of that community will see qualitative improvements to their lives in housing, in economic opportunities, in improved infrastructure, in the environment, and in a sense of security and well-being and human happiness as they move about their community. So we look forward to the installation of the LED lighting, of which the Minister of Works spoke a few days ago, and the paving of the many weary roads of that community. And it's really an urgency, Madam Speaker, because these are roads in the Anglican community that people all over New Providence use. They take shortcuts, and you have main thoroughfares, Balfour, Cordo, Lincoln, and Minnie Street. The roads are weary and need repair, particularly as they service the wider New Providence Island. I am actively purveying the constituency to identify an appropriate site for a second community center. The first being in the Montel Heights community, and which was the result of a joint venture between the Member of Parliament, myself, and the association. A second center, though, should be established in a more central location, and that search is actively underway. I thank all of my cabinet and parliamentary colleagues in advance for what they have done and all that they will do in helping the great people of Angliston to advance in their lives and for the qualitative improvements in their environments. I take this opportunity to thank the member for Fort Charlotte, the Minister of Works, for quickly responding to the urgent need of repair of the Angliston Park, situate in the heart of Angliston, which has now been resurfaced. You may recall, Madam Speaker, I have spoken in this place many times about the state of that park, so centrally located and which is utilized by so many young people, which had a very slippery surface, and young people were injuring themselves. And I just couldn't get it done in those days in opposition. But I thank the member for Fort Charlotte for moving quickly to assist us. The park equipment, I'm told, will also be repaired and the bathrooms refurbished and lighting will be restored on that park. During this summer, we hope to create a menu of offerings for young people on that park and the Montel Heights Park and the Windsor Park Field and the C.H. Reeves School Field, including a 3-week basketball camp for boys and young men and girls and young women, a baseball camp, soccer camp, along with other sporting and cultural events, including a physical fitness program for adults. And I see the member for Garden Hills there with his head down, but reminder, I thank you for your commitment to these various projects in the summer. Give me a thumbs up. Madam Speaker, despite the many positive steps, the increase in pension, the lump sum distributed in December, the removal of duties on many healthy food items, resulting in announced price reductions by at least one major food chain, and which we'd expect to see across the board reductions, people still face hardship. And in some instances, people are facing great hardship. This is why those of us who have stepped up to public life can never become comfortable, complacent, or self-satisfied. We must always keep in the center of our collective consciousness the most vulnerable amongst us, for we will always be as strong as our weakest link. We must remain committed to wiping every tear from every eye. And in this, we must work hard, Madam Speaker. The political battlefield is not always an easy forum. It is pervasive. It intrudes into almost everything. It is oftentimes divisive. It frequently distorts truth and history, and the manipulations are short-sighted and of short-term benefit to the perpetrators, but can create long-term confusion and mitigate against national progress and a heightened consciousness of citizens. Its intensity can breed very negative and counterproductive impacts. On the one hand, if one engenders a clarity of purpose and remains faithful, steadfast, and always wearing the full armor of God on that disruptive and confusing battlefield, they shall withstand all, and having done all, still stand. I don't intend to lecture, but merely to restate that a step up and step forward is not an enterprise in one's ego. It's not an avenue for self-advancement. It's not the forum for admiring our reflections on the big screens and the publications, although there's nothing intrinsically wrong with that, as it is a product of the central undertaking. I heard some references in this House to the late Lyndon Pindling several days ago, and a suggestion that if you've been around since then, it's time to leave and to be substituted by, quote, new leadership and new vision. I thought this a most bizarre observation. I don't know who that member is alluding to. He might be speaking to former members or former leaders of his own party who were around from Pindling time and who are prominent on the scene currently. I will only say at this juncture that Lyndon Pindling served this nation with distinction. Yes. He courageously led the political fight against discrimination and oppression, the pain and suffering and vicious exploitation of our people. Yes. He chaired the Progressive Cause, which saw major milestones and qualitative advancement in our national life and in the establishment of our national identity. We thank him for his invaluable contribution. We are grateful for his sacrifice, and we appreciate the love he poured into the nation that he loved so much. This noble son has gone on to the ancestors. Yes. But as we who are still here seek to criticize and engage in revisionism, we must remember that today the spotlight is on you. That's right. And what will be your spectacular contribution to the future of our people? That's right. What has been your enduring contribution thus far? For myself, I don't go back that far to a Pindling era, but I go back far enough to remember the progressive policies initiated under that leadership, from which we have all tremendously benefited and advanced in this parliament and throughout this nation. Progressive policies and laws founded upon a fundamental belief that there shall be no discrimination against any Bahamian, and that Bahamians are to be given prioritized consideration in their own nation, the establishment and sustained pursuit of a proud and powerful national identity, the empowerment of our people through equitable and equal access to education. Remember, there was a time you couldn't go too far in the schools. For individual empowerment and the building of capacity for the Bahamas. The fervent, unwavering belief that the Bahamas could and would become the finest little country on the face of the earth. This is what the member is criticizing. And I'm wondering, I'd say it's bizarre. It's bizarre. The extolling of the values of being our brother's keeper, to heal the sick, feed the poor, guide the youth, and bring peace to every heart, to wipe every tear from every eye. The establishment of all of our national institutions, I said all, to stand up for the Bahamian people, both here at home and abroad. The belief, they believed this when you couldn't go beyond grade 6, that we'd be producing great athletes, world scholars, and global movers and shakers. A fervent belief held even when, at the time, the population had access to only a 6th grade education, and 8th grade if you were lucky. If you were lucky. If you were lucky. That's right. The protection of Bahamian land for generations yet unborn. Universal access to health care nationwide. The policy of Bahamianization. Many new leaders have emerged onto the scene. Many new leaders with the new vision and brought about modifications of these policies, some of which have butchered many of our advances and have set us back. But that'll be a conversation for another time. Perhaps this should be the focus of analysis if we are serious. Is this the type of leadership that the member frowns upon that I described? The Bahamian people have high expectations because of the leadership of a Pindling. The bar was set high for the Bahamian people, and every day was a substantive, aspirational movement towards that higher plane, a defined path, philosophically driven. What I appreciate about this budget is that it seeks to reunite us with the foundational beliefs. God willing, it will mark a renaissance in our re-emergence as a nation and as a people. Ironically, the way forward is to reconnect, to a proud and purposeful path, and to recast how we see ourselves and what our expectations are for each other.
Yes.
I am moved that we seek to recognize the faithful work of Bishop Hanchel, who for years has brought relief to the daily long human lines on Wolf Road, the distressed, and the work of Bishop Lawrence Roll on First Street, the Grove, himself in an apron, stirring giant-sized rice pots, and the very long-standing and steady outreach of Bishop C.B. Moss from his church in Baintown. I am happy that we were able to see their faithful service to the least amongst us. I am relieved that an initial fund of $10 million has been set aside for catastrophic health care. And I heard the member for Kalani saying, what you can do with that? You know, what you can do with that? You know, you have to be careful how we just come out of public office doing foolishness and to make comments when there are powerful statements being made about people on dialysis, people with long-term chronic illnesses. This budget sees those people. I am gratified that while we simultaneously seek to protect and incentivize local industry, I heard the speech about how you're doing this. Listen, we heard what is being done to protect local industry. But in the meantime, we have to bring immediate and urgent relief to our citizens. The member for St. Barnabas is always talking about the cash register. This is about the cash register. This is about the cash register. The elimination of duty on scores of food items, accompanied by a heightened consumer protection and activism to assure that merchants are respectful of the times and adherent to the efforts underway. I heard some of the debate in this House, but there can be no question of this government's commitment to agriculture and food security. We've not seen this in a very, very long time in this country. And there can be no doubt about the commitment of this government to the well-being of our population. Everything that we're doing in this budget is that. And this is to protect the population who face inflationary prices brought about by external factors over which we have no control. We heard you saying, do something. We did something. Now you're saying, well, you shouldn't do that. Well, you know, we did something. But at the same time, we are protecting agriculture. We see this protection and we see this commitment in the earnest efforts and heartfelt commitment of the member for South Eleuthera, the minister who leads this charge. Here right now. I am proud of his efforts in this regard. I'm also proud of the efforts to include a fund dedicated to infrastructural development of the Family Islands to promote greater equity in our national development and for communities throughout our archipelago. This is powerful. The renewed focus on our social safety net with an increase on the pre-pandemic budget allocations. The resources allocated to urban renewal, including most especially the small house repair program. The efforts to fully include the disabled community into our mainstream social and economic life. The focus on sporting development, which really, in truth, should be a no-brainer. But the former administration did not understand it. When you look at the incredible world-class talents embedded throughout our population and across the archipelago. Then we see the public service reform, and the member for Golden Gate spoke to it, with the regularization underway of thousands of Bahamians engaged in work at the public service at all levels, and for years without being regularized. Improved healthcare facilities, new hospital, an aggressive infrastructural agenda. You heard the member for Fort Charlotte. The revitalization and long overdue and most deserving focus on Grand Bahama. and indeed every family island, from the deepest south to the tip at north. The creative and novel efforts to uniquely diversify our economy in cutting-edge industries and positioning our nation as leaders. The real and substantive steps to energy reform. I've not seen this before. And green energy, this is real. Yes. The revitalized focus on agriculture and food security for the Bahamian people, equitable access to housing, and more. Read the budget for those who have not. I know you have, Madam Speaker. I congratulate the member for Cat Island, Rumkey in San Salvador, for a budget which unashamedly and boldly seeks to be faithful to the core ideals of the Progressive Liberal Party. And in doing so, in the interests of the Bahamian people. It is a sound beginning to this new day in our nation, to our restoration as a proud, powerful, and prosperous people. Madam Speaker, a central component of this agenda for the strengthening and restoration of our people is education. Education is at the foundation of our national progress and for the realization of one's human dignity and God-given talents. It is the process by which every person is able to analyze their reality and materialize their aspirations. It is the process by which our nation builds capacity and bolsters its national profile, and from which we all partake and benefit. As I have said previously, we are as strong as our weakest link. We are as strong as our weakest link. And we desire that our children are articulate and imaginative and able to critically think and create and be all that they can be. The children of this nation are the future of this nation. And it is as simple as that. Their progress and levels of self-actualization will determine the national levels of peace and prosperity and the measure of our nation's progress. You're not going to do it with a small elite. No. You need a massive, positive population. A population of well-adjusted, rational, happy, creative, empowered humans will keep our country on an upward trajectory. The alternative, however, cannot be contemplated. And so we must work hard, Madam Speaker. You must cooperate with each other and collaborate. The road to success and what we do to get there is elevated out of the partisan realm and is centered on our mutual interest of having a decent country. I reiterate, education is at the core. The success of our nation will be graphically determined by how effective we are in refining our children and young people. The process of education of every child, pre-primary, primary, secondary, tertiary, and postgraduate, is a refinement process, a capacity building process of every human. The process of education is a complex exercise involving multiple components which should all play out in synchronization and in harmony. At the center of this enterprise are the students, our children. In manufacturing terms, they represent the high-quality raw material for this refinement process. The skilled technicians for this refinement process are our teachers and administrators, and the furnace is the curriculum, and the policies undergirding actions. The classroom is the factory, so to speak. The raw materials must be refined and developed. Otherwise, it will not realize its luster or attain its purest strength. And that is a waste. and it could be a tragedy to the human experience. This enterprise of educating our children is more than important. It is critical, it is essential, and it is fundamental. I do not believe the process is simply housing or occupying the children or babysitting them until they're ready to leave in a grade 12. This must be the preparation space for the unleashing of incredible human potentiality. I truly and wholeheartedly believe in the brilliance of our children. And it therefore puzzles me why we are not seeing the results that you would expect from this high quality raw material. That's where I start, Madam Speaker. And it does not mean that stakeholders are not working hard. It does not mean that significant resources are not expended. But it must mean that we must review the entire process. We have to ensure that we are capitalizing fully on the development space of our children and young people. And I don't believe the answer is easy or straightforward. But until then, we can never settle or be satisfied until we yield the bountiful harvest that is due from the creative and intellectual genius of our children. And this is the mandate of this Davis administration. And I said, bountiful. Yes. Everywhere. This does not say, however, Madam Speaker, that many of our children do not excel in one way or another. I have seen the outstanding manifestations of many of our children. It's inspiring in examinations, in the creative arts, in athletics, and on and on. It's heartwarming and representative of the possible. But far too many of our young people are being released into the world, ill-equipped and underdeveloped. Yes. Far too many. And this is worrying. I cannot imagine what happens in the mind, heart, and spirit of a young person who finds themselves in such a dilemma. It is therefore necessary that we examine the processes and, if necessary, make considered changes and adjustments to produce the results that we as a people expect and desire. We want a steady ship, but we must be sure our compass and navigation are intact and takes us to the places we hope for and dream of. So as I've said, the subject of this process of education are the children. They are the raison d'etre of all that happens. It is because of them that we train and recruit teachers. It is because of them that technical teams design curricula. It is because of them that facilities are constructed which accommodates the delivery of instruction. It is very important that we never lose focus of this fact. They are central to this enterprise. The Davis administration understands that it is the duty of the government to do all that it can to ensure that each component in the delivery of education is perfected as far as humanly possible. So at the end of the day, we would have maximized the potential of emerging generations. Because of this commitment, the Ministry of Education in this 2022-23 fiscal budget has two undergirding principles, which are guiding our policies and actions on a concurrent and simultaneous basis. The first is to ensure targeted policies and effective decision-making, to ensure efficiency in the delivery of education and the monitoring and measurement of results and outcomes so as to determine the success of these strategies. It's a scientific approach. The second is to respond with great urgency to the fallout caused by COVID-19, most especially, but not only, the phenomenon of learning loss, and to cause for our children to resume a stable course and get their lives back on track. Those are the two major approaches that we are pursuing at this time. As to the first undergirding principle, the Ministry of Education, Technical and Vocational Training is committed to ensuring that all policies and decisions are science-based, responsive only to empirical analysis, which will be undertaken as a practice, and policy fully reliant upon and responsive to the facts as they appear on the ground. And further, as I've said, to measure outcomes and make adjustments as is necessary. You want to craft it till we get the result. This will include trends and outcomes in national examinations such as GLAT, BJC, and BGCSE, and the appropriate deductions that can be made from those results. This approach mandates the necessity of research and the accumulation of readily available data and statistics to aid in formation of education policy. Therefore, the Research and Planning Division must be enhanced and appropriately staffed and supported and equipped with additional skilled and technical personnel. And as we speak, recruitment is now underway of data analysts and statisticians to facilitate the efficient collation of data and timely accruing of statistics and the necessary analysis of that data. This is the way forward for education policy. That commitment to research so as to affect maximum performance of our students is already in train, as the ministry is now initiating two important research projects. The first is to empirically understand why we are seeing underperformance by students by various levels, at various levels in our schools, and to uncover which factors, in fact, influence high performance of our students. It's a 12-month research project which is to be undertaken by the University of the Bahamas. It will be tasked specifically with determining the social and educational factors that influence learning outcomes in general in our public schools. This research will help to inform policy and will be used as the basis for decision-making on matters of consequence to teaching and learning. So we want to understand where are the hurdles, where's the difficulty, where's it lost in translation to our brilliant young children. I am anxiously awaiting the findings of that study, which will assist us in isolating and targeting vulnerabilities and weaknesses and strengthening effective components. The second major research project is to be conducted simultaneously with the University of Bahamas study. So while that one is going on, we have another one that will be going on. It is a study which we believe will lead to broad-based breakthroughs in mathematics for students at the secondary school level. This research will be conducted by the University of Southern Florida and led by Bahamian professor and mathematician, Dr. Ruth Mae Sayers, a Baintown girl, herself a product of the public school system and someone who has a very prestigious career in the United States. I'm hearing she's from Forbes Hill, Exuma. I say Baintown, but he took me to the source. This research will be undertaken in the Bahamas in conjunction with the University of the Bahamas. So, University of Southern Florida and the University of the Bahamas, because we want to own the rights to our intellectual attainments or research in this country. This is a 3-year study in mathematics. They call it a longitudinal study. It will engage thousands of students to commence in this upcoming academic year. This will be a structured intervention for transforming secondary mathematics in the Bahamas by promoting culturally responsive mathematical teaching and social and emotional learning competencies. The premise of it is that there are factors which influence how we learn in the Bahamas, and these will be applied on a trial basis while researching and trial to see how our young people are able to make breakthroughs in mathematics. The study will organize an annual professional development to initially include 100 teachers in the first year nationwide and increasing to between 150 and 200 teachers. This research will analyze attitudes towards learning mathematics. That's the foundation right there. People get a mental block. And why are you laughing? You had a mental block? I had plenty mental blocks on mathematics. But I know our children could do it because they're saying the way they construct costumes and our young people construct costumes at Junkanoo, the way they excel in carpentry, all of this is mathematics and geometry and physics in the costumes. So they will provide summaries of students' achievements and results on school-based and national exams, BJC and BGCSE, and consider changes over time. In short, Madam Speaker, the objective is to procure in this nation high attainment on a broad-based way in mathematics in our high school students. And I know that we can do it. The funding for both research projects is, in the case of the UB study, $583,000, and it's a one-year study. And the mathematics study is a $2,044,000 cost over 3 years. So it's roughly $680,000 per year for the mathematics study, roughly the same cost of the one-year study at UB. These research projects should qualitatively advance the attainment of our young people. I'm looking for the breakthrough, Madam Speaker, the breakthrough. I know it's there. I know they can do it. We have to find the breakthrough. And those breakthroughs are in teaching and in learning. Next, and in response to credible and widespread concerns about the construct of the core criteria of the high school diploma and the many concerns about anomalous outcomes, a national commission comprising education experts in the public and private school system and representatives from civil society and labor stakeholders will immediately convene to review the high school diploma criteria with a view to making the appropriate adjustments for a revised and improved set of criteria without lowering the pursuit of academic excellence. It is expected, and I don't want to preempt them, but I believe it will, looking at the way the world economy is going, is expected that technical and vocational education will be integrated into the core qualifying academic subjects. Right now, the core subjects are purely academic, so as to cause for a more balanced, inclusive, and progressive approach to measuring attainment of high school diploma candidates and our Bahamian children. It will be placed before this commission that it is necessary to review the current principle of this high school diploma, that if a student obtains 3 Fs in grade 10, that student, no matter how well he or she may seek to redeem themselves in the succeeding 2 years, or how well he or she recovers or excels, even if it's a spectacular excelling in grades 11 and 12, is permanently disqualified in grade 10 from obtaining the diploma. It seems to me not unreasonable that the commission might find that this policy is a disincentive to student effort, harmful to morale, and perhaps mitigates against a desire to remain in school at all after grade 10. I wish to advise that in the interim, and in light of the fallout from COVID-19, a technical committee reviewed the high school diploma criteria and have made adjustments to the qualifying criteria based upon the extraordinary circumstances brought about by the pandemic. Additionally, the ministry will put on summer classes, which will make up the Extended Learning Academies 2022, to address the recovery of learning loss and deficiencies in students who are performing below grade level, and I guess to catch up on any gaps in the high school diploma. Mastery of literacy and numeracy will be the focus of these academies during the face-to-face instruction, which will take place on Monday to Friday for 3 hours daily. The summer program will run from the 12th of July to the 5th of August. And Madam Speaker, I truly hope that young people take advantage of this free and highly accessible program. Madam Speaker, as a related matter, I wish to advise that the practice of separating school leavers in grade 12 by alienating, some may say shaming, the almost 50% of students who do not attain the high school diploma, that has now been abolished. This year, for the first time in years, grade 12 students, all of them, all, will assemble with their peers who they spent all these years bonding with. Dignity. And this will happen across the nation to commemorate in ceremonies in their respective schools the end of their high school years, the end of an era in their lives. It will be marked in an occasion. This will not take away from those who have attained their honors, and they will still receive their due. But it recognizes the intrinsic value and hope for every young person. Not everyone came out with 10 BGCSEs, but they probably went on to do some fantastic things in this country. It is important that young people be allowed to commemorate the end of their 12 years of schooling and to be reminded always that tomorrow is a new day for them with new opportunities and the ability to go on to do great things in their lives. I have been reminded, for those who may not have succeeded in obtaining the criteria of a high school diploma, this ceremony could be for many of them their own walk of hope. This year, the Prime Minister taped an inspiring message for all of our 12th graders, which will be aired at every single graduation ceremony at every single school throughout this nation. The importance of that, we want those young people to know they have the attention of the highest office in this nation. Madam Speaker, I will speak later to the opportunities that will be available to this cadre of students, the ones who didn't get the high school diploma this year, in the months ahead. Madam Speaker, the ministry underwent more than a simple name change. The technical and vocational addition denotes a major policy shift in the integration of technical and vocational education into mainstream offerings at the high school level. The ministry has embarked on a major and unprecedented thrust for technical and vocational education, TVET, taking a more central positioning on the curriculum. As pointed out by UNESCO, TVET comprises education, training, and skills development relating to a wide range of occupational fields, production services, and livelihoods. It empowers individuals, organizations, enterprises, and communities, and fosters employment, decent work, and lifelong learning, thereby promoting inclusive and sustainable economic growth and competitiveness, social equity, and environmental sustainability. It fosters youth employment. TVET fosters youth employment and entrepreneurship, which is a response to chronic unemployment among our young people. It promotes equity and gender equality. It engenders fairness. It facilitates the transition to green economies and sustainable societies, a response to climate change. So we have to do it, Madam Speaker. The range of offerings will be from carpentry, auto mechanics, and agriculture, consumer science, maritime studies, artificial intelligence and robotics, to solar energy at the high school level. The Minister of State, the member for Yamacraw, will speak in greater detail of this critical new paradigm in education in the Bahamas, which will cause for a more balanced approach to education. Balanced approach. It's not all academics. And which will more appropriately prepare our young people and equip them for job opportunities in the economy. This is especially important and finally responsive to study after study after study done in this country in the last 10 years. The IDB, the IMF, and BTVI themselves over the last 10 years have found over and over and over that we have in this country a severe skills gap, which has serious implications for our social and economic stability and progress, because it means that Bahamians are not trained or skilled for opportunities in their economy. Other people can do it, and they gotta watch. It is long overdue that the state now appropriately respond to these dire findings and cause for new opportunities to be accessible and within easy reach of an appropriately prepared and trained young Bahamian. Madam Speaker, this is a quality of life. This is a quality of life policy shift in our high schools. It is intended that not only will there be offerings in high school campuses themselves, and there is some of that happening now in all the various schools, but we are looking at creating magnet centers of excellence for TVET, which we seek to establish nationwide and not limited to New Providence and Grand Bahama, which will certify high school students, certify them, and enable them to gain qualification after they leave school for immediate entry into the workforce. The high school experience will equip them and certify them for the economy, should they choose not to go into tertiary education. In New Providence, the location of one such center has been identified, but further details will be provided on that issue in ensuing weeks. But we are very, very excited by the prospect of a facility with bright young Bahamians engaging in various forms of technical and vocational education and being good at it and being certified and entering, sparkling into the economy on completion of their high school years. This thrust will be bolstered by an enhanced relationship between the public schools and BTVI, which will also allow a dual enrollment. The reintroduction of the Technical Cadet Corps is underway. It was halted during the pandemic. And this is being done in partnership with BTVI and pursuant to MOUs which we hope to establish with the public corporations such as Water and Sewage, BPL, and with the Ministry of Works and private sector entities to provide hands-on training and apprenticeship opportunities for high school cadets. And we would perhaps want to see that, that apprenticeship in a more broad-based way with the other students engaging in technical vocational education. But I'm speaking specifically about the Cadet Corps. This will attract students who are high flyers in engineering, IT, and like STEM fields. And the Minister of State will elaborate further. In this budget, there is significant investment in capacity building and infrastructure at BTVI, and I know the member will speak to that. There's a $2 million increase in the tuition grant, raising it to $6.6 million. So we are going to be able to do more with tuition in this budget. And there's also going to be some investment in environmentally sustainable operations and programs at BTVI. There are also new programs for us in areas such as allied health. Apparently, there is a paucity of Bahamians who are trained and skilled in allied health, and people are coming here from all over the world to work in this field. So BTVI now is going to bring a focus to this so that Bahamians can take advantage of that niche opportunity in the economy. There will be thrust in environmental technology, orange, green, and blue economies, interfacing with small businesses. There are going to be some salary adjustments, and there's a $3 million plus capital works budget for instructional labs and workspaces enhancement improvements, IT infrastructure, upgrades on technologies for New Providence and Grand Bahama and some of the islands. And the Minister of State, as I said, will speak further to the role, to this and to the role and status of the Caribbean Development Bank's involvement in these innovations. But the point I make is that we have increased funding for tuitions for young people, and there will be capital investments for laboratories, and there will be curriculum shifts that will allow for more exciting, broad-based engagement of young people, particularly in areas where we now have very few Bahamians, but which is very lucrative areas in the economy. BTVI, though, is going to be instrumental in our learning recovery program, to which I'll speak later in this presentation. It is anticipated that this paradigm shift in curriculum offerings in high school, BTV, the technical and vocational, will significantly shift the landscape, both in performance of the children in our schools and in the integration of young people into the economy. So we are very excited about this, Madam Speaker, and we're very committed to it. How much time I have there now? I've lost track. Okay. All righty. Oh? I gonna have to, what do they call cut and paste? So, Madam Speaker, this is the 21st century, okay? I mean, the way young people, I talk about babies almost, the way they are able to be so adept with computers and smartphones, and I mean babies, literally, tells you, you know, this is a far cry from what most of us would have known or seen or even been comfortable with. But this is a new generation. And so technology has become a critical tool in education. It was particularly critical in the lockdowns and the extended school closures in 2020 and beyond. But what was important, it allowed for a sustained connectivity between teacher and student. And it's an important tool in its own right for the advancement of the 21st century Bahamian child. Prior to the pandemic, and to ensure the entire administrative regime and delivery of instruction is effected immediately in a 21st reality, a project now underway, I met it in train, but we have been prioritizing it for completion, and several of the schools have been completed. And the objective of this project is to improve the technical infrastructure to link all districts, public schools, and all satellite offices with the Ministry of Education. Yes. This is creating what they call a WAN, a wide area network. So we're gonna have that centralized coordination and connection. Schools and satellite offices on the island of Abaco, Acklins, Andros, Eleuthera, Exuma, Cat Island, Crooked Island, San Salvador, Grand Bahama, Long Island, Mayaguana, and New Providence have all been completed. The islands not yet completed are Inagua and Ragged Island. But Inagua is scheduled to be completed by the end of June, and Ragged Island is scheduled to be completed as soon as the school is completed. We need to wait for that to happen. So make that happen. Be like that. Now, the Ministry of Education introduced a technology paradigm. It's called the Bahamas Education Learning Management System, BELMS. It's a comprehensive program to create smart schools throughout the country. This involves not only providing all schools with high-speed internet service, and all of these schools nationwide will have high-speed internet service, but it will outfit school campuses with hardwire and Wi-Fi access. It will improve digital literacy in students by integrating the use of tablets and other devices, etc. And installing both, and this is really what I want to refer to, the Education Management Information System, EMIS, and the Learning Management System, the LMS. The establishment of the LMS and the EMIS have proven to be critical and invaluable tools. And the technical team at the Ministry of Education, under the leadership of the director, are to be highly commended for this execution. The EMIS is a centralized system for school management and data collection using information on students and staff. So in that EMIS, you have a register of every single child in the public school. We know who they are and where they are. Data is housed in the EMIS relevant to demographics, school programs, performance, and attendance. I will come back to why the attendance component is important. It contributes and allows for effective school management and decision-making at policy and operational levels. The LMS is the platform that houses educational resources, inclusive of digital resources designed for subjects and levels. It imports student assessment, student support, and analysis. And this is what was used during the pandemic. It allows for teaching virtually across districts and schools. And it allows for lifelong learning and is vital in an emergency. But this was the tool that was used to keep a connectivity with students when we went into a complete lockdown. So this system, as I alluded to earlier, has played yet another critical role in allowing the ministry to identify those students who, during the shutdowns and many instances continuing even to today, have fallen off the radar, so to speak, and have not attended classes, in some cases for more than 2 years. The EMIS allowed us to see who those young people are. These children are across the nation and in varying grades. The numbers are in the thousands. They've not been in school. I will return to this matter shortly. And so I just want to say the importance of the LMS and the EMIS in helping us move beyond where we are now. While the response and efficient implementation of the Bahamas Education Learning Management System has been proficient and largely successful, it was found that while classes were being offered 100% virtually or in hybrid mode, again, that thousands of children, for unclear reasons, we didn't know why, were either not accessing the system or logging on infrequently and were effectively not in attendance at school for very extended periods. We wanted to understand precisely what issues were impacting this state of affairs and were proving to be barriers to students accessing the system. We commissioned a survey by the Department of Statistics of the infrequent and non-users of the LMS, students. The study disclosed that almost 1/2 of the young people surveyed, 47%, were not attending classes regularly, who were not attending classes regularly, were unable to sign on to the ministry's LMS or were experiencing chronic challenges. This statistic gave credibility to widespread feedback that we were getting from teachers and students, many of whom expressed difficulty and frustration. And this survey, science, subsequently informed the rationale for a renewed approach to the system. The Ministry of Education is now seeking to build on this foundation already established by creating a solution which will generate greater ease of access for students and teachers, and which will prove to be more user-friendly and provide enhanced capacity for the delivery of education. As a result, the ministry commissioned a technology task force with the responsibility for the implementation of a comprehensive education management information system and learning management system, EMIS and LMS. So, Madam Speaker, we have a system, we're grateful for it, but we found out that the children who were missing, almost half of them couldn't get on or were facing difficulties. That has informed us now that we need to go back to the table to see by way of RFP to see whether we can invite proposals that we can now measure in hindsight and in foresight in terms of what is required for effective delivery for our young people. In the meantime, though, and we are grateful, the provider one-on-one, in conjunction with Cable Bahamas, is continuing to provide an interim solution. Trying to be strategic with this speech. The ministry, Madam Speaker, the system, I want to say this system also allowed the ministry to fill gaps where there are teacher shortages, because classes can be delivered virtually. So you can have a teacher in Nassau delivering a class virtually in Abaco. And so it served that purpose also. But I'm from the school of thought that we have to have in-person learning. And we went to Keys, and one key in particular, all they have is virtual learning. And but it's a very small, I think they got 6 or 7 students. And so, and different ages and all age. So, you know, you'd have to have a really adept one teacher to go in there, because they're at this age and that age and this age. And so, but we have to find a way to deal with this. The phenomenon of significant numbers of children dropping out of school has seemed, from what I've been advised, to be a chronic issue in the country for many years. I've been told that historically, you always have a percentage, not the numbers we're seeing now, this is extraordinary, but you always see a percentage of children that do not attend school for one reason or another. And in the Prime Minister's priorities in his delivery unit, education is seen as a key priority, and it mandates that students avail themselves of the opportunities provided to gain the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to contribute to and benefit from education. And the Prime Minister's office has set for the education priority in the first instance an attendance rate of 95% for public school students by December 2022. I don't think we've seen that rate even in the best of times, but this is what we're aiming for. What we are now facing, however, in terms of the alarming numbers of children and young people to whom I've previously referred, numbering in the thousands, who've effectively dropped out of school during the pandemic and have not returned, has taken us well beyond what has been described as a previous chronic norm. What we are seeing now in terms of the sheer volume of children missing from school is a crisis and an emergency, and is a matter of grave concern to the ministry and to the government and to the nation. And we only need to open our eyes and listen and see what is happening around us to understand how important this is to get children back on track. In response to this worrying state of affairs, a national task force was appointed, comprising public servants from varying ministries, including education, social services, national security, the Crystal Council, labor union stakeholders, civil society, chaired by the Director of Education. The mandate given was to find every child. We say in education, every child counts. So we're going to find every child, every child, every child. Reach every child, support every child who is challenged, empower each child, and engage the community. On the 11th of January and continuing over a period of days and weeks thereafter, education stakeholders, this was quite a sight to see, including principals and teachers, support staff, civil society, labor stakeholders, and general community, put on their walking shoes, taking to the streets in communities within their school districts nationwide, going house to house, door to door, to seek out these children and to raise public awareness of this crisis and of the absolute necessity for all hands on deck to get children back in school. This initiative was launched from Uriah McPhee Primary School, where in one single walkabout, and I've advised Parliament before about this, in the Freetown area, more than 60 children, just in that one walkabout, were identified. And since then, I'm advised that almost 1,000 children have returned to school nationwide. But Madam Speaker, there continues to be thousands of children and young people who have not returned to school. This is a serious state of affairs. So we've now collected through the record in the EMIS, and it took a while because they had to cross-reference with the schools to make sure the record in the EMIS is absolutely correct. We've obtained the full listing of students, their addresses, their contacts, and some of whom are now adults because they probably should have graduated last year or the year before. But Madam Speaker, teams will now reach out to those young people in the next ensuing days to strongly encourage them either to reintegrate into the mainstream school system, and if they're in that age group, they're gonna have to do that, or depending on their age, take advantage of and attending free of charge programs to be offered in the summer by BTVI. So we are going to be almost evangelists with these young people to get them back on track, because if they meander in the wilderness, it will be a disaster. So we've collaborated with BTVI and the Adult Education Division of the Ministry of Education, and Dr. Linda Davis has already created programs designed for these young persons. And she stands, and BTVI stands ready to coordinate and immediately mobilize nationwide. The intent is at a minimum to bolster literacy and numeracy. Our children gotta know how to read and write. They can't come out of school and can't read and write. I know, can't happen. And they have to be, and we want to see if they can be trained in an employable skill so as to assure some quality of life for these young people and survivor skills as they make their way through the world. And this is not a simple undertaking, Madam Speaker, and requires the full cooperation and active participation of all stakeholders, including the community in general. So for the MPs, you know, you have constituencies, you have young people in your constituencies. Some of them are in this number. We need all hands on deck. Madam Speaker, this is a very serious situation, and we are addressing it with great urgency. We must overcome this crisis. The alternative cannot be contemplated. It cannot be seen that this was on our table and we did not deal with it appropriately, Madam Speaker. But just as a general rule, Madam Speaker, we will not accept, the Prime Minister's office delivery unit says 95%. We will not accept a state of affairs where school-age children are engaging in truancy. You see it all, everywhere you go. You see children there, you know, for some reason. So the so-called, what they call the chronic norm. And in this regard, we recently advertised in the daily publications, Guardian Tribune, for the recruitment of attendance officers, that's what they call them, who will work with the schools, the parents, the school boards, the police, urban renewal, and social services. It will not be trendy to be on the streets if you should be in school. They call them truant officers, but we got sophisticated here. We call attendance officers. Madam Speaker, we will form an army to get children back in school and with regular attendance and punctuality. This leads me, Madam Speaker, to a critical area of priority, the very serious issue of learning loss, which I have spoken to previously and on several occasions in this House and outside of this House. Madam Speaker, this is the most pressing issue this nation faces in education. This right here. And I mentioned a lot of other things. This one, because this is broad-based and widespread and probably impacts almost every child. Excuse me. It has been noted, and I quote, "The damage to children's education in this pandemic situation is likely to reduce children's well-being and productivity for decades, making education disruption one of the biggest threats to medium and long-term recovery from COVID-19 unless governments act swiftly. The ministry is setting the groundwork for urgent recovery efforts. We're still in hybrid, and I'm hoping by September we'll be in a position to have full 100%. And evidence is mounting of the low effectiveness of remote learning efforts. So even those who are online fully, they have not benefited, many have not benefited the way in which you would have wished. To address the crisis of learning loss and to ensure strategic and precise response, a request for proposal to diagnose all students and create an instructional plan for recovery has been launched. It's been published. The RFP invited expressions of interest, several of which have already been submitted. A committee to review the submissions has already convened to begin discussions and deliberations. It is intended that by August, we can begin training teachers, and by September, when children return to school, each child at every level will be diagnosed for learning loss, and in respect of each child based on the levels of loss, they will have appropriately designed acceleration programs to allow them to catch up. But in the meantime, because we can't twiddle our thumbs, we are hosting summer learning academies in public schools throughout the Bahamas to provide intense intervention for a 4-week period. So we have to be encouraging young people who feel that they may be in that category to avail themselves of this program. And of course, Madam Speaker, the most disadvantaged demographic, however, has been children with special needs, because the virtual instruction was just not, it was not a reality for them. And so we have to give special attention now to children with special needs and to see how we can make up for what must have been a devastating loss and gap in learning for them. Also, Madam Speaker, compounding these issues is that we have insufficient classrooms and teachers to meet the tuition needs for children with special needs. So we've been in discussions to aggressively recruit and qualify teachers, and to quickly build capacity for teachers for special needs children. And when we were in Eleuthera a couple of months ago, we found that there were several requests for diagnostics of children suspected of being special needs. And as a result of that, the department is planning in September, I don't know if the MP remembers that, in September, they're taking a mission into Eleuthera. And I think this will be the template for all of the islands. And that mission will be to assess, identify, and manage students with academic, behavioral, communication, and social adjustment difficulties. They will train teachers and parents on identification and use of appropriate strategies. And they will assist students and teachers with strategies for managing persons with fine motor, gross motor, and sensory behavioral disorders within the school system. And so that will go into Eleuthera in September. But as a matter of course, we will dispatch teams to go throughout, and announce it appropriately, to go throughout the nation to cause for communities to be able to access some diagnostic intervention for children with special needs. So, Madam Speaker, while we are urgently and comprehensively addressing the fallout from COVID-19, we have to nevertheless, though, be forward-looking and engaged in innovation in the delivery of education. So the ministry is reforming the school curriculum. It's what I call the furnace. The child is the raw material, and the curriculum is the furnace, the burning, refining methodology or modality for the child. the refinement of the raw material which represents our young people. This reform is focusing on the 4 C's of critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity. The objective is to engender young, inquiring, and critical thinkers, and not be resigned to a simple learning and memory of facts, etc., and regurgitating. No. We want our children, their intellect and their creative energies to be stimulated. And this is beginning even now at pre-primary. I was shocked. I had to get clarification on this one. At pre-primary, they're introducing STREAM, which is science, technology, reading, the arts, and mathematics. That's pre-primary. And this is how they do it. They introduce concepts through play. So, for example, they look at the characteristics of dry sand versus wet sand and the impact of water to the composition of sand. They do outdoor projects such as experiments with plants, observing responses to watering or lack thereof, concepts of engineering in the block building center. And then they analyze the difference between blocks based on the density of those blocks and how they're able to withstand pressure. They do building using recyclable materials such as popsicle sticks. And then they engage in projects underlying engineering. And then they do something called, this is in preschool now, STEM It Up Fridays, where children engage in science-related and engineering-related activities, exploration, and inquiry-based learning. But they do it through play. But children begin to acquaint themselves with principles and concepts. The commitment to universal pre-primary education, we are committed to that. And we have a long way to go. We have 74 public preschool units. But what is happening is that the voucher system is used to complement the ministry's inability to provide preschool education for every child. And so there is a public-private partnership to ensure, as far as possible, universal access to preschool education. At the primary level, there'll be a focus on literacy, creating a new standardized framework for reading instruction at grades 4 to 6. So there's going to be a concentration on literacy. And it's necessary. And utilizing and implementing the initiative reading block in grades 1 to 3, where every day students in grades 1 to 3 engage in reading activities. So it's centralizing literacy in these grades. Additionally, students in grade 4 to 6 in their computer classes will be introduced to coding. And the introduction of robotics at the high school level will introduce STEM concepts and also ensure that students are able to compete successfully in the global marketplace. So at the high school level, we are bringing greater focus on the national needs, which will give rise to the expansion of technical studies, as I've said, and the science subjects. Our young people in this new curriculum will learn about climate change, climate justice, gender equity, to raise awareness so as to be more responsive to the dangers of climate change, especially for us. I think the Prime Minister mentioned in his presentation, in the last 7 years, we've had monster storms, bam, 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 and Dorian was beyond a monster. This is now a part of our reality. And the weather, I mean, the tornadoes I saw in varying videos in New Providence, just over the last few days, you know, and then one minute it's storming, the next minute the sun is shining, and you feel like you're in the twilight zone. But this is what we are dealing with. And we're low-lying, very low-lying, and sea levels are rising, and we are very, very vulnerable. Okay. So, but what I want, my time is running, so I want to get to the history curriculum. We are revising the history curriculum to foster greater self-awareness and national pride. And the ministry is now engaged in a most intentional exercise, and I'm very proud of this, because I know what I learned when I was doing history, and I know there's some modifications now, but we need some mainstream understanding of our history. And we are engaging in a revision of the history curriculum to be supplemented by a new history text, which is being supervised and edited by Dr. Christopher Curry. This is intended to raise self-awareness and to cause for our young people to have a deeper connection to themselves, to the journey of our people, and to our national life. And there will be continued creation of indigenous resource materials, etc. And the newly revised curricula that I just spoke about, the creative critical thinking, not just memory, and just being stimulated even at a pre-primary level, that will be implemented in the upcoming year, and it will be constantly monitored to measure how it is being, how effective it is in making breakthroughs and learning for our young people. And so that is part of the science-based, the measurement, the monitoring, and adjusting where appropriate. Madam Speaker, we are seeking to create a furnace for the raw material which will inspire, ignite, liberate, empower, and fortify our young people. That is how my expectation of what our educational system will do for our young people. The factory is in this process is the classroom and the school. So I'm very pleased that in this fiscal year, funds have been budgeted for the construction of new schools in the country. Yeah. This is, and of course, this happens in our collaboration with Ministry of Works. But we're going to build 2 new schools in this fiscal year. The first is San Salvador High School, which is expected to be completed in 2024. And the second is the Georgetown Primary School. They each well justified. Absolutely. Well justified. This ain't Curry favoring. It's well justified. And suffering for far too long. The member for Exuma said they've been suffering for far too long. The school is inadequate. And San Salvador has serious issues. And so those 2 schools, additionally, and they're estimated about 16 million each. So I'm excited about that. Additionally, we will see finally the completion of ongoing new school projects, most of which were unbelievably stalled or abandoned by the prior administration. And I don't know why, probably because we put our hand on it. I don't know. The Staniel Key Comprehensive School, we're hoping to finish that by August of 2022 at a cost of $1.9 million. Holmes Rock Junior High, we expect that to be finished in September. Yeah. Finally! I was there, we broke ground. My hair was I was 10 pounds lighter. Okay, we'll make that 15 pounds. Low Sound Primary, we expect that to finish September 2023. Additionally, at Arthurstown High, Cat Island, we're building a 3-classroom block in the summer. And then Cooperstown Primary, Abaco, we're going to do a classroom block. Remember, we were looking for a location to do that, member for North Abaco. And at Emma Cooper Primary, we're going to complete an unfinished classroom block that was just sitting there for years. We're also finalizing plans for the construction of several classroom blocks and an administration building at the Harbor Island Comprehensive School. Yeah. And then for the member from Eastern, how much time I got? It's 37 minutes. Preach. I ain't calling Exuma no more, so you know. In the 2023-24 years, we want to get to complete the East End Grand Bahama and the Nagua Comprehensive School. So those are up next. So when we took office, I think I just have to say this, you know, we wanted to get children back in school. And we met numerous school repairs, lagging, dragging, not moving anywhere at all. It was overwhelming. But we had to move quickly. I want to thank the Prime Minister who got personally involved, Ministry of Works, on this matter, because it was almost miraculous what we were able to achieve in a very short period of time. The Sybil Strawn Primary, complete renovation of the entire school, including a redesign of the administrative block and demolition and reconstruction of the pavilion. C.W. Sawyer Primary, S.C. McPherson High, L.W. Young Junior High, Carlton Francis Primary, Ridgeland Primary. When I went to Ridgeland Primary, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was just, gouged out concrete. And like I said, you were trying to get children back in school. Yellow Elder Primary, Columbus Primary, and Uriah McPhee, which had serious roofing issues. All of these were done in almost record time. Of course, as it related to T.A. Thompson, we were not aware that, we'd been in office a couple of weeks, we were not aware that that school had structural issues. And in fact, it did not come to our attention until we announced we would open school. And so as a result, we had to relocate T.A. Thompson students to the University of the Bahamas, and that was seamless. And they're there at UB, and they're doing well. And I'm told that that particular repair work at T.A. Thompson, which was serious structural issues, will be completed by August 2022. So, as previously said, the price paid for school closures are probably catastrophic. It is our intention, with the full collaboration with the Ministry of Works, that in this fiscal year, all of our repairs will be completed by August 19th. We opened schools, we had cases of COVID, and people were pressuring, but all of the research says, do not close schools. Do what you have to do to maintain a safe environment. You could do your quarantine, but don't close the schools. That is a no. Close the shops, everything, but do not close schools. So I want to speak on the issue of safety on the school campuses, because this is another phenomenon, and we have not tested it scientifically, but there appears to have been, when we got children back into school, sporadic, broad-based, all over the place, incidents of fights. We had stabbings in a few stabbings. And so this is a matter of grave concern. We had to make the decision, and the Minister of National Security is here, to put police officers on the school campus. And we did this, though, because we were able to read some research that was done by Dr. Chaswell Hanna, Chief Superintendent of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, which studied this whole thing of what they call the SROs, School Resource Officers. And they were able to see a correlation between the presence of SROs and the number of incidents that happens on school campuses. And it was shown that there was a reduction as a result of their presence on the campus. So, this is not something I would have ran to go do. But when we looked at what was happening and the safety issues and stabbings, we had, it created great concern. And so we put these SROs in several schools. And what we intend to do, and I am traveling to Colorado because they have this SRO, National Association of School Resource Officers, is having a conference so that we can meet with them and see exactly how does this concept work. It involves, officers, but they also go in the classroom. They have a curriculum and they talk about bullying and things of that nature to help young people navigate the world more effectively. So it's not straight policing. And in the summer, we intend to bring the National Association of School Resource Officers to the Bahamas to train officers so that we are able to dispatch fully trained police officers who are not just straight police, they're police officers, but they have a nuance that is designed for the school campus. Additionally, we have recruited roughly 60 police security officers, and we are going to cause for all of them and the currently serving ones to be trained by the police. They're not police officers, but they will be more equipped The school campus is not what it was 10 years ago. It's something different. And we want to ensure that we are able to manage and stabilize what is happening on the campus. We're also looking at lighting on the campus and CCTVs. I was surprised to learn that 17 of our schools have CCTV, and we're looking to see how to expand that. I wanted to speak about the SHORE program and the TAPS program, which is a program where, you get in a fight on the campus, you're suspended to these programs. I went to the SHORE programs in a beautiful campus. It looks like an acre or more, beautiful plants, everything. And then I went to the TAPS one, which is there on Wolf Road, and it's very clinical and institutional in its appearance. And so we're looking at that to see how we can create equity in how girls and boys are dealt with in terms of these behavioral issues and have the same opportunities. And but we're also looking at the programs. And in the SHORE one, what we did when we saw these incidents, we got about 30 young people, boys, from the varying schools who were, who was deemed to need added attention. I'll put it like that. And they are now there at SHORE, and they are getting tested in literacy. They are getting psychological testing or counseling, and the Defense Force, the Ranger program, is so assisting us. It's not militaristic, but it's just helping level of disciplines and fitness, etc. And they do programs in high school all the time, but they're focusing on SHORE, and we're hoping that this modified or this more progressive approach to how we deal with young people who are deemed, needing more attention, that we are able to yield the results that we'd like to see. But of course, this has to be measured also. So we'll have to see how that goes. This is something that came to me a little late in my understanding of this pandemic. And it is the understanding and I'm being very guided by what's happening globally because we have limited research on the matter. And this is why it's so important to get your data, get your statistics so you can make science-based decisions on what is happening in your country. But what we're finding is that in a lot of, in the United States in particular, but not just there, if you read UNESCO, it's everywhere, they're finding that there's been psychological fallout. So you got the learning loss, you got these sporadic actions, and now they're talking about the psychological fallout. And the US Surgeon General in America, he said that protecting youth mental health, he said that the pandemic's unprecedented impacts on the mental health of America's youth and families, as well as the mental health challenges that existed long before the pandemic. And then, and I'm quoting from him now, mental health challenges in children, adolescents, and young adults are real and widespread. These children have been isolated for more than a year. The COVID-19 pandemic further altered their experiences at home, and that has its own complications we don't know. School and in the community, and the effect on their mental health has been devastating. That's the word the US Surgeon General uses. The future well-being of our country, their country, depends on how we support and invest in the next generation. This advisory shows us how we can all work together to step up for our children during this dual crisis. And so what he's doing there is raising awareness that this is a phenomenon, this is a result of this pandemic, yet another result. And we don't know in the Bahamas for certain the full impact on mental health of our young people. But I think we should anticipate to some extent and respond appropriately. The pandemic has unleashed a cocktail of disturbing impacts on young people. We're seeing it. Keep your eyes open. It is absolutely vital that we are proactive, collaborative, and inclusive in our efforts to combat the negative effects on young people as a result of this pandemic. The role of guidance counselors and school psychologists have taken on added significance beyond the norm. And what we did was that we brought together the Department of Public Health, our specialized people in the Ministry of Education, school psychologists, guidance counselors, the membership of the National Association of Psychologists, and the University of the Bahamas, and we all sat in a room. I sat there also. And I think there is consensus that this is an issue we must bring attention to. We intend to meet again, and the Ministry of Social Services was there. We intend to meet again, but we want to, and we've gotten some recommendations about how we should proceed. But I think the reason I am mentioning it today is because I think it's very important for us to understand that the biggest victims of the pandemic have been children and young people. And we have to be cognizant of that in our dealings with them as we move forward. On the issue of teachers, the teachers are our skilled technicians in this refinement process of our natural resource, our children, our nation, our natural resource, which is our children. And the nation's teachers are the technicians. We are cognizant of the need to ensure the qualitative well-being and healthy morale of our teachers. We understand that the role of teachers is vital to ensuring effective learning and for the nurturing of students in the public education sector. That's a synergy that is so serious between the teacher and the student. This is particularly so after the devastating impacts of both Hurricane Dorian and the COVID-19 pandemic. It is recognized that the needs and desires and well-being of teachers is equally important. In response to these understandings, a committee was formed to assess the state of teacher morale in this country, in the public school system, and to make recommendations for the improvement of morale in the profession. That was the objective. The objective is to ensure that teachers are fully empowered to carry out their critical roles and to ensure that they receive the resources and sustenance necessary for doing so. The committee has been generally meeting once a week since February of 2022, and I was surprised it took so long, but they got deep into it. I'm advised that the report of the committee is about to be submitted with recommendations for addressing the findings. The report findings were based on responses received from 700 plus Ministry of Education teachers from New Providence, Grand Bahama, and the Family Islands to a survey sent out via email to all public sector teachers. And I saw it, boy, did they respond. Strong, in some instances, very strong. And it includes responses from all categories of teachers, including teachers' aides, craft instructors, assistant teachers, and trained teachers. The responses were supplemented by a literature review compiled on the issue of teacher morale and teacher motivation in the region. The data received from both sources form the basis of the committee's findings, which are divided into short, medium, and long-term recommendations. The Teacher Morale Committee members were careful to ensure that the report reflects entirely the views of what our teachers are saying about what is needed in the public education sector to address their empowerment and sustenance, which will ultimately lead to the strengthening of their teacher instructional roles. So we chose to focus on teachers. The members of the committee are Reverend Henry Knowles, Principal of QC, Reverend Angela Palacios, Anglican Priest, Mr. Zhivago Lang, Executive Director of UB Public Policy Institute, Ursora Cumberbatch, President, Bahamas Society of Human Resources Management, Mrs. Sonia Brown, Pace Foundation, an engineer, President of Graphite, Bahamas, and public officers, U.S. Sonia Adley, ADE Therese Carey Curry, Mrs. Demetria Roll, responsible for Teachers' Career Path, and Christine Green, and chaired by the Permanent Secretary, Lorena Bristow. And the survey was facilitated via the Research and Planning Unit of the department under the leadership of Acting DDE Charmaine Sinclair, with the assistance of IT head, Mr. Byron Small. So I wanted to give them my heartfelt gratitude because they put in some serious time. They understood the central importance of us understanding what it is teachers are experiencing and what is it they like to see. This is also critical to how education is delivered. We want a teacher complement with a high morale, motivated. And so we're hoping that out of these submissions, out of the report, we can begin to remediate in the way we wish. And just to go quickly on this, we're addressing the career path for teachers. It's the first time it's happened in a very long time. And this will allow teachers to move up the line without leaving the classroom necessarily, up to master teacher. And that is underway now. And in fact, $40,000 is in this budget to facilitate the career path for teachers. And that will be used to facilitate the training of teachers who have expressed an interest in being considered for the posts of senior and master teachers. And of course, we would have heard the Prime Minister announce that teachers, once the agreement is signed, nationwide will receive a salary increase. In addition to increments, the increments are across the board, but teachers have been singled out for this. And I am very especially pleased that they have been singled out in this way. They're not the only ones, but from my point of view, as they're most deserving of this special recognition for their work in the trenches, in good times and in crisis. And we want to ensure, though, that our teachers are on the cutting edge of new development. So we're going to be putting in place professional development during the summer to ensure teachers are on the cutting edge of education and teaching practices and any research and studies. Teachers will be able to avail themselves of that during the summer. We have a shortage, but we're hiring teachers. The ads were running last week and week before last. And over the last several months, we brought in 133 new teachers and 54 teachers' aides and 12 guidance counselors. And I think this time around, we're bringing in about 200 teachers, and they're in the full array of areas: electronic, technical drawing, agriculture, carpentry, joinery, welding, auto mechanics, air conditioning, refrigeration, graphical communication, special education, technical career exploration, French, welding, Spanish, chemistry, general science, biology, natural science, marine science, mathematics, etc. These are all underway as we speak. But I think this is the issue of teacher shortage is a global issue. It's like nurses. There's a shortage of nurses globally. And so we have to find ways. And the teacher cadet program is a way in which we have determined that we would be able to incentivize young people to go into the profession. All righty. On the tertiary education, the budget, this year's budget is at $14 million, $2 million more than prior. And but we're learning that it's not enough. We turn young people away from tertiary education because they're not able to access, the funds are not there. And then so we partner with private entities, with the fraternities and sororities who have been extraordinarily generous in giving scholarships. I was at one event, they gave us over $2 million in scholarships, the historically Black colleges. So we're looking at the Education Loan Authority. I'll speak about it on another occasion, to see how we can shift the paradigm, not along the lines that was a disaster. We ain't going there. But we want to see how we can remodel that entity to cause for more creative ways of allowing young people to access tertiary education. The University of the Bahamas is engaged at the northern campus. We just purchased the Kipling building. You're going to see a new thrust at UB. First of all, they're moving through accreditation so that the degree at UB can be recognized anywhere in the world. That process is underway. But they want to really entrench and diversify the University of Bahamas. We use UB for research, and but it tells you, that they. I think it's going to be a new day at UB, to be honest with you. I think there will be a new day at UB. And the chairman there is Alison Maynard Gibson, chairman of the Board of Trustees. And I've spoken to her at length, and she has really delved into this whole thing. I want to, time running out, so the School of the Creative and Performing Arts, that's a tertiary school. What this school, sorry, let me speak about this more wholly. This is something that that has underway, and it'll provide a training ground for highly talented and highly skilled creative and cultural professionals. Our country will have a structured environment in which to produce those who will drive our new creative economy into the future. In recent years, there's been much talk about the potential of the creative economy, or the orange economy as it has come to be known. The orange economy has at its heart, basically, the commercialization of creativity. And I'm speaking about a long-term sustainable industry full of entrepreneurial opportunities. This is an industry that will take creative professionals off of the professional hamster wheel, so to speak, scrapping around for occasional jobs, most of which are poorly paid and have little or no security. I'm talking about developing sustainable markets or audiences for the services and products they create. And at its most basic, every economy needs two sides, supply and demand. Put simply, it needs people who are the creators and producers, and then those who will pay for what they offer. What the School for the Creative and Performing Arts will do is to ensure that those participating in the relevant sectors in the orange economy will be able to commercialize their creativity at the highest level and to the fullest degree. There are some 16 sectors covered in the definition of the orange economy. These are virtually the same sectors which used to be described as the creative industries. They range from theater, film, television, and radio to fashion, architecture, design, and performing arts. Despite their shared roots in creative and cultural activities, these sectors have very different profiles. They have different business models and dynamics, different value chains, different barriers to entry, different levels of market demand, etc. It would be close to impossible to offer them all at once. And so the strategic approach will be to prioritize those sectors which can yield the quickest results, have the maximum potential, and benefit the widest range of people. In looking at the interests, aspirations of our people, especially our young people, the creative and performing arts score highly on a number of criteria. They have the potential to create a substantial number of jobs. They include both cultural and entertainment products and services. They have a very broad market appeal. They offer a great number and range of entrepreneurial opportunities, which means they have the potential for generating wealth. The barriers to entry in this industry are low, meaning that no one needs huge amounts of money or any other resource to enter. The biggest barrier, I suppose, is a lack of talent or ability, in which case I wouldn't recommend you go in that direction. Finally, the performing arts includes activities which have transferable skill sets. So, for example, if I can write for the page or the stage, chances are you can also put those writing skills into marketing or even speech writing, so they're transformable. Madam Speaker, even with this initial focus on the development of the performing arts space, I want to reassure everyone that the government will not be ignoring the other sectors. In due course, the government will publish an overall strategy for the orange economy. But even though that work is not yet complete, the evidence is clear. Whatever that detailed strategy prescribes, the time has come. Yes. We need a school for the creative and performing arts, and soon we shall have one, Madam Speaker. Now it's clear as to why we are creating this school. I will set out the vision that we have for it. We want the school in the Bahamas to be the best of its kind in the region. This is one of the boundless opportunities behind a creative vision. If you can think it and do all you can to make it so, it can happen. Initially, we proposed to launch with a core syllabus that can be later explained. We will offer, and these are the offerings, acting, singing, and dancing training. We'll offer training in music. A part of the actual performing disciplines, we will also offer courses in writing for a variety of media, directing, and producing. These creative production and business skills are vital to creating a sustainable, profitable sector. And I'm going a little more at length here because this is a new concept that we are working on. And the point is that this school will offer conservatory training as opposed to liberal arts training, which means it will focus strongly on the practical as opposed to the theoretical. Dancers will have to be able to dance, not merely understand how dance works. And the preliminary discussions are already underway for this work. And so the business models are being constructed and to establish performing groups that can work in educational, health, religious, and prison environments. The role that the performing arts can potentially play in these sectors can be truly transformative. We are providing tertiary level training, which means that students will have to have completed high school before they can join. And while this is a hugely exciting opportunity for our young people, we also intend to offer community programs which can be accessed by established professionals or interested members of the public. So a working brief is being completed, and it's going to be about 6 months before we have the template for how this will proceed. And there will be a business plan developed, which will set out how we become fully operational. But in the meantime, we don't have to wait until then. You just need some studio spaces, your faculty and your students. So we intend to launch even before you might see a physical infrastructure. We'll go with what we have. And it's my fervent hope that we will be able to make a start during the 50th anniversary of independence. And I want to speak about UE and our feeding program, but time is escaping me. And the busing, well, in the busing matter, I heard from a man in Abaco who had a bus contract, and it was taken from him unceremoniously when they changed administration last time. And he was left stuck paying a huge mortgage on that bus. And then during Dorian, he says he used the bus to rescue so many people. And then the bus was damaged through salt. And so all he has now is a mortgage, no bus. We have to be so careful with the way in which we approach these things. And I'm sure there's stories everywhere. There's litigation and all kinds of things happening. And then, in fact, it was getting ready for elections, and I think the former administration wanted to move quickly and do some things. But anyhow, see how well that went. Oh, you here, Elizabeth? You back? Thank you. So the library, I know the member for Yamakro will speak about the library because he's doing some innovative things in the library in his constituency, but the libraries are now fully open, and we want to encourage young people to go in there, to prepare for your projects, to do your research, and to access materials, etc. And the Department of Archives is open, and we have excellent technical people there. On the issue of scholarships, and I hope I made it clear that we intend to find strategies to increase access. And the money that government allocates is not enough. It's very sad when you look at a young people who wants to further develop themselves and you tell them, I can't help you. And so we have to find creative ways. But part of it is I think there are about 45 schools that the ministry has MOUs with or relationships with in the United States. And a lot of our students go there, a lot of our public school students go there. And I want to refer to one public school student who just finished university. He's from Freetown. His name is Omar Davis. He was a 2018 valedictorian of C.I. Gibson Senior High School, where he held the position as head boy and was an honoree at the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Inc. Honors Day convocation. However, we are told it was not easy for Omar. Omar grew up on Kemp Road, which is a good thing, but he happened to grow up in the midst, according to his own story, in the midst of drugs, violence, and much crime. At the age of 12 years, he witnessed the murder of his father at the doorsteps of their Kemp Road home. He said that his father lived a life of crime and was known to the police. Omar recounts the many nights of home looking for somewhere to stay. And despite the shortfalls of his father, though what is interesting, he was always reminded not to make, he loved his father. And his father told him, short man, never be like me when you grow up. These were the words of encouragement that came from the most, I guess, unlikely source, but that stayed with him. It gave him the drive to succeed as he remained focused on his life's goals. Bear in mind, his father was killed in his eyes, before his eyes. And he said that every day he struggles with the memory of watching his father gasp his final breath. Anyway, in 2018, Omar was the recipient of the Public School Scholarship Program Award to attend Central State University, where he pursued a double major in finance and accounting. It was through this agreement with the Ministry of Education that he received the full tuition, room, board, and scholarship for 4 years. While at Central State University, this Kemp Road boy served as a peer tutor and an active member of the accounting club, aspiring and supporting his fellow scholars. There were many who doubted whether Omar would finish. There were some who thought he was not smart enough, others who had already summed him up as a product of his environment, etc. Nonetheless, all through his college years, he remembered his father's words. This is what he told the people, told everyone, and the promise he made to his mother and to himself to succeed. Omar graduated on May 14th, which is about 3 or 4 weeks ago, summa cum laude, with a 4.0 GPA and a bachelor's degree in accounting and finance. He is the first person in his family to attain a college degree. Omar's enrolled in his CPA courses and plans to pursue an MBA. I say all that to say this, Madam Speaker. We cannot give up on our children. We ain't gonna do it. The Sustainable Development Goal 4 mandates quality education to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education for all and to promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. That goal has 10 targets, which are measured by 11 indicators. Of the 10, 7 are outcome-oriented targets, and they're free primary and secondary education, equal access to quality pre-primary education, affordable technical and vocational and higher education, increased number of people with relevant skills for financial success, elimination of all discrimination in education, universal literacy and numeracy, and education for sustainable development and global citizenship. The 3, which are means of achieving the targets, are build and upgrade inclusive and safe schools. We're doing 2. Expand higher education scholarships. We're working on that for developing countries. And increase the supply of qualified teachers in developing countries. We're working on that too. I hope that through this contribution, it will be seen that we are making qualitative steps to achieving these goals. The education system had challenges long before COVID-19, and it is important that we are honest about this. COVID-19, however, has had an incredibly destabilizing effect on education and on many of our young people. It is a crisis. This can, however, and must be not only a time of challenge, but also of opportunity. That's how I see it. It will require us to chart new territory. No more same old, same old. I wish to thank the Minister of State, the member for Elizabeth Yamacraw, the Permanent Secretary and Director, and the entire leadership of the Ministry of Education, technical officers, and the entire support staff nationwide. I thank stakeholder unions, teachers, administrators, guidance counselors, school psychologists, school boards, parents, and students. I thank the supportive community surrounding these schools and corporate Bahamas and NGOs which adopt and support our schools. It takes a village. It's not a cliche. It's the truth. It is the truth. Yeah. To the students of the nation, I say to you, your country believes in you. Yes. I believe in you. The Prime Minister of this nation believes in you. We will fight for your future. That's right. But you must also fight, but not against each other, but together to reach your full potential and to realize your gifts and talents given to you. Given to you. You gotta say, given to you by the Almighty. It is my hope that the innovations introduced into education by this Davis administration will bring about the turnaround for education in this country and win success for our young people and take us into a new day. A new day in this, our Bahama land. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member Asmini. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Yamacraw.
Give like some water, please.
I need some water after that. So I be the same team. Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Glad to have Angliston on my team. It is with immense pleasure, Honorable Speaker, that I stand here today to speak in this Honorable House. I am acutely aware that it is not only through the grace of God that I am privileged to stand here today. Madam Speaker, I'm reminded of the scripture that directs us to Psalms 75, 6-7, that promotion cometh neither from the east nor west, but in the final analysis, it is our Heavenly Father who promotes us. So I am ever mindful that my presence in this honorable house is one that has been granted to me by God to serve the citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and today to present the 2022-23 budget for the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training. Madam Speaker, I'm also aware that God works through people. And so I must acknowledge the beautiful people of the Yamacraw constituency. I stand here today on their behalf, and I am grateful for their support and sending me here to be a voice and a servant to bring positive change and improvements in our constituency and to their lives as hardworking, beautiful Bahamian people. My hardworking branch and team in Yamacraw is a strong force that carry out initiatives, reach out to people at times on my behalf, and work as a unit to make Yamacraw better with each passing day. Yamacraw is a proud and diverse constituency with many parks and green spaces. We have secured garbage bins and done cleanup campaigns, held initiatives for our children, went door to door to deliver Mother's Day gifts, and the same will be done for Father's Day. So fathers, get ready for this weekend. We are actively improving lighting, clearing drains, and patching potholes that I must also thank the Minister of Works, the Honorable Member for Fort Charlotte, and his team, and his hardworking team for the job they are doing. We still have work to do in the physical aspects and also the human aspects. I'm looking forward to the summer programs for young people and the health and wellness programs presently going on and will continue. And I also want to mention, as the member for Angliston has stated, the Honorable Minister for Education, our technology initiative that we are launching this summer in the library at the Elizabeth States Library in Yamakroa, is a learning experience for our students that is an immersive experience using virtual reality technology and the metaverse. So all lessons, including art and history, could be accessed in this particular platform, and students will be able to tour a virtual parliament and watch as the Linden throw the mace out of the House window, or the Honorable Lady Hannah be removed by police for standing up for justice. And this would also be used to improve our so much needed literacy and numeracy in student learning. And so we're looking forward to this launch of technology in our library, and something that we hope we can model for all libraries across the country. And we have one of our technology giants who's partnering with us. I would not make an announcement at this time further, but they're going to assist in getting us to expand this program and help students to be able to access the latest in technology in this country. I dare not continue without acknowledging, Madam Speaker, the support of my beautiful wife, Mrs. Candace Major Lightbourne, and my wonderful children and family, thanking them for their patience and strength and encouragement as I carry out my work as a Member of Parliament and the Minister of State for the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training. But before I go any further, I must highlight and commend the work that is being done and carried out by a capable team at the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training, under the leadership of our very capable, passionate, and competent Minister, the Honorable Glenys Anna Martin, member from Angleton. It's a team. The Permanent Secretary, Ms. Lorraine and Bristol, along with the Director and his team at the department, is also to be commended. Clearly, the leadership is critical if we are to achieve our mission in providing all persons in the Bahamas with an opportunity to receive a quality education. Madam Speaker, by now, it is no secret to any Bahamian of the economic crisis we inherited when coming into office. The surprise blow of the 60% increase in VAT in 2017 caused a lag in the economy and was a heavy load to bear, with a negative effect on economic growth. The lockdowns, curfews, damaged almost all of the Bahamian businesses, and compounded the suffering, especially in Albacore and Grand Bahama, who suffered the wrath of Dorian. Decisions of investments like the $20 million sidewalk saga was not a good investment for our future, and is still a mystery as to where the urban files have disappeared to. Not a single school, not one, or clinic, airport, or major road, hospital, or housing development was built to account for the unprecedented nearly $2 billion plus in borrowing per year. This is a backdrop to why the Davis Cooper administration was elected. The Bahamians wanted a way out, and they made it happen. Now they want a way forward, and we will give it to them. Madam Speaker, in our first 8 months in office, we sought to rescue the economy and bring immediate relief to our Bahamian people. We immediately ended the lockdowns and then curfews and found a better way to balance our health and economic challenges. The emergency orders were lifted, and many workers returned to work due to the resumption of business operations and extension of hours. We promised and introduced free COVID testing and free medical grade mask distribution, and expanded the medical team of nurses and doctors, and the Minister of Health and Wellness will tell you the rest of good news for the health sector. We are building new homes in New Providence and Albacore, and the Minister of Housing and Transport will tell you that more is on the way. Minister of Grand Bahama, Honorable Member for Pine Ridge, have told you about the $100 million Grand Lucane purchase and plans for luxurious resort, creating thousands of construction and permanent jobs in Grand Bahama. The difference in the old bad deal of the former administration and the new good deal is stark in contrast. The additional good news for the redevelopment of Grand Bahama's International Airport and new cruise port groundbreaking expresses not only a vision, but also follow through for our second largest economy. Madam Speaker, the way forward has begun since day one, as we sought to have more fair and efficient revenue management, which includes the rebuilding of the Revenue Enhancement Unit for better tax collection and accountability, especially for those who can afford to pay. We were told that decreasing VAT to 10% was a Alice in Wonderland dream.
That's right.
But we did it, and the revenues grew and continues to improve. I guess it can therefore be said, Madam Speaker, that on September 16, the people hired the dream team.
Yeah.
The relief from this reduction on food, coupled with the decrease in duty, gives people more options at the grocery counter, like decreases in everyday necessities such as eggs and meat and healthy foods, such as fruits and vegetables and plant-based milk and drinks. The shoppers in Yamakroa welcomes this. The nation welcomes this. Madam Speaker, at no time in my lifetime can I remember merchants announcing to the public that food costs have been lowered due to a government tax initiative. And that the people can expect more of the same. Residents in my constituency and all over the country commends our administration for our response for immediate relief and our vision and steps taken to secure our future, whether on lowering the cost of bringing electrical vehicles or food, or using natural resources to gain carbon credits, and increasing subsidies to local farmers and fishermen to increase their ability to produce for a larger number of Bahamians while moving towards self-sufficiency. It has now been about 9 months since having the privilege to serve as a member of Parliament and a minister in the cabinet, a privilege afforded to me by our Honorable Prime Minister and a member of Parliament for Cat Island and San Salvador. Madam Speaker, I support Minister Hannah Martin in all aspects of providing our citizenry with quality education. It is the latter part of our ministry's name that I have been intimately involved, and that is the technical and vocational training. Madam Speaker, it is this critical sector that I will focus my remarks around today. Madam Speaker, the expansion and growth of the technical and vocational education and training TVET or TVET is imperative if we are to meet the growing skill gaps that we always speak about, not only here in the Bahamas, but this is a global need. The state of affairs becomes even more critical for our young people, as it is this sector of society that has been even more challenged with the growing levels of unemployment throughout the world. Madam Speaker, this administration's plans for a new day is intricately linked to our ability to fully utilize the benefits that are to be derived from technical and vocational education. After all, we believe TVET subjects are the key to the delivery of opportunities to our young people as we recover and rebuild our Bahamian economy. This is the reason we are adamant about ensuring that TVET subjects are a part of the curriculum offerings in schools. Students can study in one of three distinct areas: business studies, family and consumer science, or technical studies. There are 4 education officers in the section supervised by an assistant director who are responsible for 35 general subject offerings, 8 specialized magnet program offerings spanning 32 to 48 school campuses, delivered by a total of 351 education professionals. Madam Speaker, the career and technical education section is deliberate in seeking to ensure that all students and teachers are able to benefit from increased exposure, hands-on experience, and professional development opportunities through increased industry partnerships with specific focus on skills development and enhancing or enhanced classroom infrastructure and labs. Madam Speaker, our plans to continue to work with 15 curriculum teams to review, revise, and introduce documents that are reflective of international trends and best practices while satisfying our labor market needs and interests. Content areas include technical studies, business studies, content areas include technical studies, business studies, and, as I said, family and consumer sciences. And additionally, the completion of a feasibility study of existing magnet program content areas, which are highly specialized areas of interest, to determine the most effective method and ensure consistency and student certification. The Career and Technical Education section has identified a minimum of 90 programs in schools throughout the country that are in need of technological infusion if we are to experience the growth and expansion of CTE in training that the country so desperately needs. In addition to the normal wear and tear associated with practical resources, the past 3 hurricane seasons have resulted in the destruction of resources on varying islands, which we have not yet been able to replace. Additionally, Hurricane Dorian impacted several schools and labs that have not yet been fully restored. The injection of practical resources and relevant technology would assist with labor force skill sets, in addition to better quality examination results and international certifications. Business study area computer labs are in need of computers for the instructional process and accompanying support software. Additionally, the technical infrastructure to offer training in areas like coding, web design, web programming languages, and the like. The aspiration is to fully resource at least 1 lab in 30 schools throughout our country. Family and Consumer Sciences aspires to fully outfit 1 kitchen and 1 clothing lab per school in an effort to ensure the necessary support for the curriculum and instruction process. Technical studies requires specialized labs per subject and is seeking to identify 2 labs per school, which will focus on specialized training for students. The intent is to ensure that the labs are program complementary and will support needs as identified by labor market assessments. For example, a carpentry program with a fully furnished plumbing supported by complementary electrical or computer-aided drafting labs where students experience both theory and full immersion in the practical aspect of instruction. Madam Speaker, we endeavor to rebrand career and technical education. There must be investment in the capacity building for professionals expected to execute and satisfy the intended deliverables. Educators at all levels must continue to be exposed to the best practices and industry standards if they will reliably deliver globally competitive, contributing citizens. The intent is to provide some support and promote an attitude of lifelong learning. The same is critical for the transfer of reliable information and growth sustainability of existing magnet programs of subject offerings. We seek to afford a minimum of 25 persons to assist them in order to obtain a professional upgrading with a view to continuing a train-the-trainer initiative where professionals return to serve as local trainers for their subject areas. Madam Speaker, paramount to the effective preparation of students to enter the workforce are hands-on skill sets which permits them to apply the theory study to life situations, engage critical thinking capacity, and solve problems, with the target being to ensure progression and productivity. We are actively doing this by carrying out the following programs: the Career and Technical Annual Exhibition, which focus on student immersion, public-private sector stakeholder assessment, cross-curricular integration, where students are engaged in an experience of design and develop a mobile, functioning, green, revenue-generating business, demonstrating skill sets for students in each of the 3 areas intertwined with agriculture, science, mathematics, art, and design, while also learning the intricacies of local industry regulations and standards. The Young Chef Competition, as we all know, permits culinary students the opportunity to harness industry expected skills and secure local and international scholarship opportunities. We want to increase the availability of opportunities for our students in this area. The Bahamas Fashion Week Junior Design Competition, cultivating the design and creation of skills of clothing construction, students with opportunities for international exposure and local opportunities will come out of this. The NCCER training and certification will expand the opportunity for students to engage in NCCER construction certifications, which are recognized by industry and provide baseline for employment opportunities. For clarity, Madam Speaker, as outlined on the website nccer.org, NCCER is a not-for-profit education foundation created in 1996 as the National Center for Construction, Education, and Research. It was developed with the support of more than 125 construction CEOs and various associations and academic leaders who united to revolutionize training for the construction industry. Sharing the common goal of developing a safe and productive workforce, these companies created a standardized training and credentialing program for the industry. This progressive program has evolved into curricula for more than 70 craft and maintenance areas and a complete series of more than 70 assessments offered over 6,000 NCCER accredited training and assessment locations across the United States. NCCER develops standardized construction and maintenance curriculums and assessments with portable credentials that you can use anywhere you go. These credentials are tracked through NCCER's registry system that allows organizations and companies to track the qualifications of their craft professionals and/or check the qualifications of possible new hires. So persons can go on, once you're certified, can go on the website, look in the database, and see the certification that any particular new hiree may have. NCCER's registry system also assists craft professionals by maintaining their records in a secure database. The workforce development process of accreditation, instructor certification, standardized curriculum, registry, assessment, and certification is a key component in the industry's workforce development effort. The program also derives multiple initiatives to enhance career development and recruitment efforts for the industry, primarily through its Build Your Future initiative. Sustainable energy and robotics. I just want to mention also that the demonstrations plan to promote the green skills for our economy and the environmental sustainability, as stated by the Honorable Member for Angliston. In accounting and economics, exposing students to real-life scenarios which require the application of academic principles and critical thinking skills to solve problems and provide remedy with the potential for direct employment, apprenticeship, exposure in local firms. I also want to mention that recently I visited a career fair in Grand Bahama, and in the career fair, they not only had every technical aspect of our economy you can think of and some of the futuristic ones, but there was a money management initiative that they gave each student. So they were given a budget on a piece of paper that they had to fill out exactly what they wanted to do with the allotment of virtual money they were given. And they were taught how to manage that particular budget. These are real life skills that we're embarking on. And I want to commend the Minister of Grand Bahama for continued work and efforts in this. And also the member for West End Grand Bahama, who is a big part of these initiatives coming up for our second city and for our second largest economy.
Nobody else? No other members?
And the member for North Andros, Nabi, Berry Island.
Nobody else?
But we are asking islands we're asking for. And that one went over my head, man. One of these, it took a while.
Nobody else? Carry on.
I didn't see anyone else. But we believe that modeling this program We're modeling this program. We give opportunities for our skills and all across the country. And it brings equity because often we hear of the family islands not experiencing, not having enough teachers, not having the availability of certain courses. And what we want to do is anything that's available for students in New Providence should be available for students anywhere else in this country. The Career and Technical Education section, Madam Speaker, attempts to ensure that content is relevant and current in the subject areas, as the practicality of the areas demands theoretical resources and general supplies to enhance the effective delivery of content. There's an excess of 200 program offerings with the Career and Technical Education area, with textbooks, software, and other instructional resources that are continuously in demand. BTVI, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, over the course of this month, as thousands of students exist in our schools, it is utmost on their mind, and the question is asked, what is the next move? The Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute is an education option of excellence. And I would encourage all of us to encourage students to not see BTVI as a second option, but to see BTVI as an option and possibly the option, especially if they want to pursue a career in technical and vocational training. The inclusion of technical and vocational training in the Ministry of Education's name is intentional, changing the narrative and underscoring the mandate of BTVI to focus on this institution as the Bahamians' first choice of applied learning and strategic workforce development. This is key to national development. Madam Speaker, BTVI pillars of excellence, themes and commitments include strengthening their institute to build capacity and serve and excel, making successful careers possible to unlock potential in each individual and Bahamian economy, connecting with the community and the world to foster a vibrant, engaging learning environment. Madam Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in educational institutions globally having to resort to fully online teaching and learning methods. BTVI, through its Career Center for Online and Distance Education, was able to transfer all of its courses to an online platform, the VLE, for continued instruction. It is currently operating on a hybrid model infused with boot camps for practical components of its courses. It envisions increasing to a more fully operational face-to-face if national protocols permit. Given BTVI's shift to the virtual platform, persons in the Family Islands are able to access the majority of BTVI programs. Practical components are facilitated in conjunction with industry, corporate partners, agencies in the respective islands. In addition to upgrading the instructional labs at Grand Bahama and New Providence campuses, the board is committed to extending BTVI network to include BTVI instructional labs in both Abaco and Exuma over the next 24 months. So Abaco and Exuma, get ready because a energetic, revised, efficient model of BTVI will be available to students on your islands. And we advise that the BTVI Board of Directors, are we coming to Luke, right? We advise that the BTVI, that's the one, I can't leave it out. We advise that the BTVI Board of Directors have begun their work in earnest with focus on the following through of various subcommittees of the board on the following areas. There's the human resources, the finance and audit investment, marketing, policy, accreditation and quality assurance, ground and infrastructure, along with facilities and strategic planning and campus master plans. In human resources, The HR committee will provide guidance to the board regarding HR matters, policies, and strategy. Working in concert with BTVI's administration, the board will ensure that such required policies will be developed and implemented in support of BTVI programs, missions, visions, and strategic plan. This includes, but not limited to, addressing policies that impact such things as staffing, compensation, and benefits to ensure the recruitment of the highest quality of instruction, staff, and administrators. In finance, audit, and investment, a critical responsibility of the BTVI board is to provide oversight related to BTVI finances, to auditing and investment policies. This subcommittee will ensure that the policies associated with BTVI's internal controls and compliance processes are aligned with the national laws and regulations. Additionally, greater focus will be placed on increasing assets and revenue streams to meet the growing demand for provision of trades in the traditional construction and mechanical trades, but expanding the footprint in areas such as ICT, electronics and media technology, business, entrepreneurship, creatives, beauty and fashion, and art design production, as well as yet untouched sectors, including, as Minister Hannah Martin would have mentioned, landscaping, allied health, environmental, renewable energies, and sustainability in the built environment, marketing and communications and public relations. The focus on marketing, communication, and public relations is critical to the board's support for the work of the Institute in shifting the narrative that technical and vocational training is, like I said, a second option. Such a thrust must focus not only on the individual benefits, learning a trade and earning a living, but on the incredible opportunity to move the needle on the national development gauge in meaningful ways through the small and medium-sized businesses, the engines of our economy. Policy. Clear and grounded policies are integral to the smooth and efficient operation of an institution. And as a result, this work cuts across these subcommittees. Accreditation and quality assurance. BTVI is fully recognized by NACOG and is registered with this agency. Efforts will be supported by the accreditation and a quality assurance subcommittee to ensure that steps are taken towards accreditation with the same body and appropriate TVET regional and international agencies for institutional and program recognition. Grounds and infrastructure and facilities and strategic planning, or the campus master plans. Short and long range physical structure enhancements must feature fundamentally in the board's strategic vision. System upgrades and visioning will inform master plans for New Providence and Grand Bahama and the network of satellite sites throughout the Family Islands. This is steady, deliberate, and intentional work and must be and will be done through and driven by the Grounds and Infrastructure Facilities Strategic Plan Subcommittee. Madam Speaker, we are pleased to be able to announce that our government has seen fit to provide more opportunities for Bahamians to obtain a vocational and technical education free of charge. Therefore, we have increased the financial aid for students through the tuition grant by $2 million. The tuition grant will assist in more students being able to access BTVI free of charge. Madam Speaker, BTVI is supporting the provisions of a variety of learning options, delivery methods, and experiences for learners that lead to successful career opportunities, lifelong learning, upskilling, and career change opportunities. BTVI is growing as a sustainable institution. It is increasing its focus on environmentally sustainable operations and programs that tap into careers in sustainability space, expanding the role and impact on communities, skill gaps, labor force needs, and workforce developments. Meanwhile, BTVI is supporting new programmatic thrusts in areas such as allied health and environment technology in the orange, green, and blue economies, undergirded by an entrepreneurial drive, building out and interfacing with small businesses, the engine of which our nation and our people will thrive. A significant thread of the TVET fabric, and thus of BTVI, must be envisioning a response to new societal demands and development paradigms for sustainable development, reduce environmental impact, and moving forward towards a greener economy and society. This is particularly important in small island development states. Sustainable Development Goal 4 and 8 underscore the importance of TVET in addressing the multiple demands of economic and social and environmental areas by helping youth and adults develop skills they need for employment, for decent work, and entrepreneurship, promoting equitable, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, and supporting transitions to green economies and environment sustainability. In the context of the Caribbean broadly, and the Bahamas specifically, climate change makes the threats of natural disasters like hurricanes and earthquakes acute realities. The transition to green economies and climate resilient societies is therefore not a choice, but an imperative. Such transitions have tremendous implications for the kind of skills that would be needed, as well as resulting TVET programs that must be developed and delivered. Specifically, the greening of TVET calls for the capacity building of leaders, education managers, and teachers to implement systemic reforms and the embedding of sustainability concepts throughout the curriculum. And that can be cited at UNESCO 2016. BTVI must and will be a player in the space as it envisions related programming and collaborates on such initiatives being advanced by the Office of the Prime Minister with OTEC, or the Ocean Thermal Energy Corporation, power generation, environmental renewal, and associated technologies. The ICT program initiative has been influential in training high school students, 10th grade students, in the information technology track that prepares them for a career path in the field, while a newer partnership, the DevNet program initiative with the Bahamas government and Cisco, will train Bahamians in software development.
Very good.
Madam Speaker, BTVI continues to forge ahead with upgrading of their existing programs of study. In the Trade Department, consideration is being given to potentially introduce a more advanced degree programs and specialization options whilst revising existing ones to reflect current industry practices. Recruitment efforts are ongoing across the department, including urban communities, specialized groupings, and several family islands. The inmate training at BDOC, or Bahamas Department of Corrections, through the Citizen Justice Program was kept going even with the interruptions experienced due to COVID. This presented a positive image of the institution's adaptability and resilience. Since then, the institution has been awarded another IDB contract to train 1,000 at-risk youth. Additionally, an articulation agreement was signed with the New England Institute of Technology in Rhode Island, New England. This resulted in the transfer of credit agreement for the information technology, software engineering, and network engineering programs. Expanded partnership possibilities were also pursued when Valencia College in Florida faculty visit to discuss instructor and student exchanges through their collaborative online international learning initiative. The Bahamas Trade Department is actively seeking funding for the court reporting / stenography diploma and associate's degree program, which it hopes to launch in the next academic year. Efforts are also focusing on a digital marketing certificate program, more professional development courses, recruitment of students for the business office technology and entrepreneurship programs, ongoing collaboration with the Bahamas Society for Human Resource Management to offer associate professional in human resource international certification and establishing the BSHRM student chapter. The Electronics and Media Technology Department will be introducing and including new media mediums, in addition to content creation by way of BTVI's proposed digital radio and television production facility built for and operated by students in New Providence and Grand Bahama. In these facilities, students will be exposed to the most current media technologies employed to today's production environment to ensure that they are tooled and ready to fill current roles and career opportunities within that sector. The fashion trades continue to work in and with community by offering introductory sewing courses to Mount Pleasant community, encouraging community members to acquire skills and additional source of income. A partnership with the creative NASA organization and Pamela Burnside resulted in a collaboration to facilitate special straw craft courses at beginners, intermediate, and advanced stages, as well as student exchange exhibition in Nassau and in London. New programs and special interest courses are being developed in straw craft and fine arts, contemporary tailoring for men, and accessory designs, totes, and clutches. Finally, a proposed fine arts program facilitated through the ICE project, or the Incubator for Collaborative Expression on Old Trail Road Industrial Park. You should check it out, Madam Speaker. That is a very innovative facility. And they have a STEAM camp that they're starting, that they're inviting students to come to. A STEAM, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, arts. This camp will enhance enrollment in our department. Beauty Trades continues to expand its outreach by partnering with industries such as Lowe's, Wholesale, Bahamas Red Cross, Bahamas Supply Agencies for training and certification opportunities for BTVI while exposing their students to professional products. Dual enrollment program. Madam Speaker, BTVI is providing bridges for young people to be exposed to various industry sectors and disciplines through its dual enrollment studies. And this will allow high school students to take credits at BTVI while they are still in secondary school. Learning recovery programs, Madam Speaker. Additionally, BTVI is promoting the Learning Recovery Program. And the Honorable Member for Angliston mentioned this, that COVID-19 has resulted in many of our students losing vital learning time. We all know that over the past few months, the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute, through representation on a Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Learning Recovery Task Force, has developed a series of workforce readiness certification programs to lessen the impact of learning loss and to increase learning recovery. Madam Speaker, it is envisioned that our students who have been lost because of the pandemic, did not complete their requirements to earn a high school diploma in some cases, they will be able now to utilize this workforce readiness certificate program as a bridge or link to entering post-secondary education. BTVI is still in dialogue with the Department of Education, hoping that this program will equate to high school leaving requirements and become equivalent in that way. Currently, the program is operating in Grand Bahama. The intention is to begin the program in New Providence and other islands during the last quarter of this 2022. These workforce readiness certificates will sharpen participants' basic literacy and numeracy skills. There are currently 4 certificate programs: workforce readiness, automotive mechanics, beauty trades, construction trades, and fashion trades. Additional programs are being developed in ICT and media technology. Madam Speaker, our plans to ensure that every student who is desirous to receiving an education from BTVI has an opportunity. This year, the admissions department was pleased to offer candidates the opportunity for early admittance. Early admittance is a college admission strategy in which applicants receive early acceptance. In fall 2021, an admissions committee was formed with the responsibility for further review of prospective students while guided by the admissions best practices. The Office of the Registrar initiated contact with Parchment. Parchment is a comprehensive academic credential management technology system that allows students and educational institutions to innovate, request, verify, and exchange transcript, diplomas, and other certificates simply and securely while protecting their personal information. Electronic transmission of transcripts in a secure environment presents a significant step forward for BTVI and a step towards providing cutting-edge technology to our students and alumni. In addition, the timely distribution of transcripts will continue to the success of the student or former students applying for college admission or seeking career opportunities. Goals for the next academic year will focus on leveraging technology to expand and enhance services within the Office of the Registrar. The work of completing and scanning of archival students' records while also working towards scanning current students' records and storing them in a centralized repository with a searchable index will be undertaken. In addition, a document imaging system will be expanded, while predictive analytics software will be implemented to improve data analysis and reporting across BTVI's network. The retention of students. Madam Speaker, we want to ensure that once persons sign up for a course of study at BTVI, that they actually complete their studies. Programs were put in place to undergird the efforts to support students throughout their journey at BTVI. The Students Affairs Division at BTVI led several efforts through the unprecedented COVID pandemic, as its impacts on programming, service delivery, student involvement, staff morale, and student retention results in dozens of virtual programs, service subjects, club officer/advisors meetings, and events being planned and executed virtually. In partnership with the U.S. Embassy and the Education USA Advisement Unit, the division completed the renovation of the Learning Resources Center to relocate the Education USA Advisement Center, Bahamas location, on that campus. The division also led to the creation of 2 new training certificates, Madam Speaker, one to accompany academic credit in hospitality and one achieved without academic credit, which we call soft skills. The non-credit bearing certificate was explicitly designed to address the at-risk youth population. Finally, the division received $359,000 in funding from the Ministry of National Security to retain and train in soft skills for socioeconomically disadvantaged students. Industry links, Madam Speaker. BTVI links with industry are even more critical than ever before. As countries seek ways to rebound from the economic downturn brought on by the pandemic, technical and vocational education, along with skills development, is expected to be the vehicle that will fuel sustainable economic growth, diversification, and development. Expanding across and access to TVET is therefore critical to the national development agenda, and ensuring currency of skills is tied to meaningful industry partnerships. BTVI has done and continue to grow partnerships through its electronic media department connected with Family Guardian Insurance and the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority to memoranda of understanding with Atlantis, Paradise Island, Doctors Hospital, and Health Services System, and Caribbean Landscaping Limited, along with an MOU with the Center for Training Innovation, which we know as Wani Luthra. BTVI is strategically placed for even more significant synergies with key industry partnerships, paving the way for high-value internships, apprenticeships, observation, attachments, and exchanges of various kinds. With this foundation set, it is anticipated that newly constructed programs, advisory board, a newly constructed structured program advisory board will be launched as they begin the new 2022-23 academic year. Madam Speaker, I now turn to staffing requirements to advance our TVET programs. As educators, we know the importance of...
Honorable member.
Madam Speaker, it might be an appropriate time for our break for lunch and return at 3 o'clock, during which time the member will complete.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
You want to stay? You want to continue? You sure? Right. Madam Speaker, the member would wish to continue and will break. I now ask for an expansion of the time beyond 1 o'clock.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Second. Thank you, Honorable Member. It has been moved and seconded that the businesses of the House proceed beyond the 1 o'clock hour. All those in favor shall remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is agreed. The business of this House will proceed beyond the 1 o'clock hour.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In addition, consideration is also being given to certifying active masters, transponders, and tradespersons who can then be vetted and approved by BTVI to serve as mentors and supervisors in an apprenticeship relationship. It will be essential to have the appropriate human resource required to deliver on institutional mandates and academic affairs. Additionally, to keep pace with the National Development Agenda, expanding beyond the traditional offerings, we must build capacity in human resource programs.
That's correct.
Staff development and training, instructional and educational supplies and materials, and other general indirect operational expenses must and will be addressed. Beyond the major capital works required, this includes expenses related to the general maintenance of existing facilities and major equipment. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to announce that the Grand Bahama campus will receive an additional $200,000 in this budget. For the Grand Bahama campus, electrical work repair, building improvement renovations of the main building and accesses, office furniture, classroom furniture, lab furniture, and equipment will be addressed. Madam Speaker, the capital works required to enhance the instructional labs and workspace is critical to meet fundamental standards. Capital works and the technology infrastructure upgrades are underscored as the urgency to meet the very basic of standards is paramount. Indeed, the improvements in the IT infrastructure and upgrades in technologies will be vital in ensuring the currency of academic programming and related operations. Modernizing the infrastructure, technologies, and instructional systems that drive innovation in the trades in New Providence and Grand Bahama. They'll be focused on instructional sites throughout the Family Islands, as I said, which will be key as we not only acknowledge our geographical and our archipelagic realities, but we must put support in places to realize real and authentic distributed learning solutions. The Technical Cadet Corps program, Madam Speaker. The program is an after-school program that introduces students to grades 10 through 12, in grades 10 through 12, to high-level technology and engineering careers. In 1990, the government, through its Memorandum of Understanding with the then major government utility corporations, namely the Bahamas Electricity Corporation, BEC, BTC, Water and Sewage, and the Broadcasting Corporation, or ZNS, began the program. The program presently falls within the portfolio of the Ministry of Education and funded by contributions from the stated partners. More specifically, the program is designed to identify, recruit, and train students who show some degree of interest and proficiency in technically related fields. Firstly, within the sponsoring corporations, but also skills transferable to the wider industry needs of the Bahamas. The intended outcome includes early exposure for students who indicate interest and intention to pursue higher education in fields such as engineering, information technology, journalism, architecture, and other high-level technology fields related to careers at the sponsoring corporations and to creating options for non-college bound students. Madam Speaker, it is important to note that we intend to go back to the initial intention of the Technical Cadet Corps program when it was first launched by former Minister of Education, the late Bernard J. Nordich, which is to provide an opportunity for students who wish to pursue technical subjects but who are not academic high flyers to pursue programs in plumbing, electrical, construction, masonry, cosmetology, etc., as well, and not just the engineering and other top technical positions, but to enter the job market upon leaving school if they desire to do so. The Technical Advisory Committee at BTVI will assist us in this. What has happened is that the original concept has fallen away and the public school students are not gaining entry in an acceptable amount or receiving scholarships via this program. They are being excluded, and therefore we will be revising the entry criteria and ensuring that public school students are not left out. UNESCO's Sustainable Goal 4 requires equitable and inclusive quality education for all, and we will deliver this. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training is pleased to announce the restart of the Technical Cadet Corps program because we believe that we need to prepare our citizens, particularly our students, to be able to participate in 21st century economies and to fulfill the immediate demands of the employment market. The 3-year program will start this September 2022 with oversight by Technical Advisory Committee headed by Chairman Scott Cadet, along with Programs Coordinator Ms. Una Roma. It is recommended that the program be launched with 75 grade 10 students. The Technical Cadet Corps program will prepare our students for technical training to enter entry-level positions or to start their new careers. Additionally, completion of some courses will allow our students to be exempt from certain entry-level college classes in fields of studies such as IT technology and architectural drawing. Technology changes occur rapidly. Therefore, it is important for our students to be highly trained and remain on the cutting edge. For this to happen, our educational system must provide the programs that prepare our students to readily embrace potential opportunities in industry and tertiary education. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank our corporate partners who have helped to make the Cadet Corps program a success. From the beginning, they have provided consistent support. It is this partnership and partnerships such as these which are needed to ensure opportunities in the technical sector and highlight these sectors for students in a manner that fosters interest and engagement. Madam Speaker, I see the time is running, and by your grace and the body here, I've been given extra, so I'm not going to abuse that at all, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, investing as Bahamians, especially the technical and vocational disciplines, is key to ensuring the Bahamas is able not only to participate, but thrive on the world economy. It is imperative that the opportunities are provided to offer our citizens the skill sets and trainings will open the door for gainful employment and entrepreneurial opportunities. Madam Speaker, I stand with my minister once again in education. I think that education is coming along very well. We believe that our team of professionals are capable through the Ministry of Education. And I am saying that we remain committed to the ideals and the visions of ensuring that our education system is equipping our students to make meaningful contributions as nation builders. The overall benefit of investment in technical and vocational training will ensure a reduction in unemployment, increased productivity, and improved ease of doing business for our country. All of these benefits are aligned with this New Day administration and have been put in our blueprint as we recover and build the Bahamian economy, thereby ensuring the overall security of our country. May God continue to bless the good people of Yamakra, and may God continue to bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. As many? Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Garden Hills.
Madam Speaker,
Chair recognizes the Honorable Member.
we now move for the suspension for lunch to resume at 3 o'clock this afternoon, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Is there a seconder? Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the business of this House be suspended until 3 p.m. All those in favor shall remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is agreed. The business of this House is suspended until 3 p.m.
All rise!
Yeah.